Picture this. A solo off-road camping trip deep in the wilderness, just me, my SUV, and the vast expanse of nature. The days were filled with adventure and the nights, well, they brought unexpected twists that I never saw coming. One evening, as the stars lit up the sky, I decided to kick back a bit with a bottle of wine. The crackling campfire and the sounds of the night creatures provided the perfect backdrop for a peaceful night. Little did I know, things were about to take a turn. With the warmth of the wine coursing through my veins, I settled into my SUV, ready for a night's rest. The wilderness was silent, or so it seemed. That's when it started a strange chanting, not too far off. Not your typical nighttime forest noise. This was something eerie, something that sent shivers down my spine. I grabbed my army knife, more out of habit than anything else, and tried to brush off the uneasy feeling settling in. The chant persisted, growing louder and more distinct, like an eerie soundtrack to a horror movie. I tried to sleep, but the chant seemed to seep into my dreams, turning the night into an unsettling journey through the unknown. A knock on the glass of my SUV shook me. Startled, I shot up, only to see a shadowy figure peering in. Panic set in, and I let out a guttural scream. Whoever it was, they weren't expecting resistance. My army knife became my unlikely companion as I braced for the unknown. In the blink of an eye, the intruder vanished into the dark, leaving me alone with the echoes of my own fear. I couldn't believe it. I was miles away from the nearest town, and there was no way someone could have sneaked in without me hearing a vehicle in the stillness of the night. I sat there, my mind racing, with only the chirping of insects and the hooting of the owls breaking the silence. Hours passed and nothing happened. I questioned my own sanity. Was it just a figment of my imagination, fueled by the wine and the unfamiliarity of the wilderness at night? I couldn't shake the feeling that something strange had indeed occurred. With the first light of day, I made a decision. I needed to put distance between me and the unsettling events of the night. I drove, seeking a new spot to set up camp. The wilderness, once a source of tranquility, now felt different, like it held secrets that I wasn't meant to uncover. As I found a new spot and set up camp, the unease lingered. The solitude that had been my companion now felt like a heavy presence, a reminder of the inexplicable events that had transpired. The questions gnawed at me: who were those chanters, and how did someone get so close without me noticing? The miles rolled by as I distanced myself from that eerie night. The wilderness gradually transformed from a place of mystery to a familiar friend once again. But the memory of that night, the chanting, the mysterious visitor, it stayed with me. It became a story I couldn't help but share, a tale that unfolded in the heart of the wilderness, leaving me with more questions than answers. And so, my off-road adventure continued, a mix of excitement and the lingering sense that the wilderness held secrets beyond my understanding. The night with the chanters became a chapter in my story, a night that added a touch of the unknown to my solo journey through the untamed wild. All right, let me take you back to a night that still gives me chills whenever I think about it. I was out there alone, hiking down a mesa. The moon was hanging low in the sky, and the only source of light I had was a fading headlamp set to red mode. Not the ideal situation, but it was the best I could manage with nearly drained batteries and a desire to keep my night vision intact. As I descended, an eerie feeling crept over me, like unseen eyes were fixed on my every move. It wasn't the kind of sensation you easily shake off, and by the third or fourth time it hit me, I couldn't ignore it any longer. What is this? I remember thinking, my nerves on edge. Fueled by a mix of curiosity and growing unease, I made a decision that would unveil the source of my disquiet. With a twist, I turned my headlamp to spot mode, full bright white light. In that instant, my surroundings were flooded with illumination, revealing the secrets the shadows had concealed. There, about 25 yards behind me, a swift, shadowy figure darted behind some bushes. Low, fast, and unnervingly smooth. My heart pounded in my chest as I locked eyes with the darkness that had been watching me. In that fleeting moment, I knew I wasn't alone on that mesa. It was a shape, a presence, something I couldn't quite define, but its movement was enough to set my instincts ablaze. Without hesitation, I reached for my phone and dialed a friend. The shaky urgency in my voice painted a vivid picture of my predicament. "If I don't make it back in about an hour," I told him, "here's where you can find my body. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being hunted, and my friend became my lifeline, a connection to the world beyond the silent mesa. The hike down was a 5-mile journey, and as I continued, so did the unsettling feeling of being watched. Those eyes, I started catching glimpses of them in the shadows. It felt like a relentless pursuit, and I couldn't shake the notion that whatever was out there was studying my every move. The light of my headlamp flickered and waned as I approached the end of the mesa. Darkness threatened to swallow me whole, but I pressed on. The unease was palpable, the sensation of being hunted intensified as my light struggled against the encroaching night. Then it happened, my headlamp died. In the vast fields, I was plunged into darkness, and the last few miles became a test of nerves. Every rustle of the wind, every snap of a twig beneath my boots, fueled my imagination. But strangely, the stalking seemed to cease once I left the mesa. It was as if the entity, whatever it was, had its territory, and I had finally stepped beyond its boundaries. As I descended into the safety of the night, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had intruded into a mountain lion's hunting ground. The curious eyes, the stealthy movements, it all pointed to a creature more intrigued than malevolent. Maybe I had interrupted its nightly routine, and once I was out of its territory, the stalking ceased. It's a story I recount with a mix of awe and fear, a night when the wilderness revealed a side that was both mysterious and unforgiving. The memory of those eyes in the dark, the relentless pursuit down the mesa, lingers as a reminder that, in the wild, we are mere guests in a domain that follows its own rules. Let me take you back to those teenage years when my family and I would camp at a state park. It was a tradition of sorts, and every night my friend and I would embark on what we affectionately called the ritual, a stroll through the woods. Armed with flashlights, we enjoyed the challenge of navigating with them turned off, relying on the sounds of the night to guide us. One particular evening, we found ourselves about half a mile from the nearest campsite when the atmosphere changed. The woods, usually serene, seemed to hold a hushed secret. Soft whispers, barely audible, trailed behind us. It wasn't the wind or the rustle of leaves. It was something more human, more unsettling. Curiosity mingled with unease, and we decided to turn on our flashlights. With a swift motion, we spun around, hoping to catch a glimpse of what was hiding in the shadows. To our surprise, there was nothing. The forest stood still, and the whispering ceased. Puzzled but not entirely alarmed, we resumed our walk. As we ventured deeper, the whispers returned, this time more distinct. We strained our ears and strained our eyes, trying to make sense of the eerie sounds. And then, there she was, a figure on the ground, crawling with an otherworldly demeanor. A lady, draped in dark clothes and smeared with dirt, whispering random words into the night. The suddenness of the discovery sent shivers down our spines. The surreal sight paralyzed us momentarily, and it took a beat to register what was happening. When she realized we had noticed her, the lady, in a strange twist, stood up and proclaimed that she was looking for her campsite. Caught off guard, we assessed the situation. It wasn't the lost camper scenario we had initially envisioned. This lady, seemingly lost in the woods, was intoxicated or high, or perhaps a combination of both. We decided to assist her, partly out of concern and partly out of the sheer oddity of the situation. Guiding her back to the campground became our newfound mission. The woods, once our playground, now harbored an unexpected challenge. The lady stumbled along, muttering incoherent words, as we led her through the darkened paths. The gravity of the situation hit us. If we hadn't ventured so far into the woods, she might have spent the entire night lost. As we navigated the terrain, we learned more about her predicament. She was separated from her friends, who, it seemed, hadn't even noticed her absence. The night, which started with the simple joy of exploring the woods, now took on a surreal and slightly creepy turn. Eventually, with a mix of relief and bewilderment, we reached the campground. We approached fellow campers, hoping to find her group and reunite her with her friends. It turned out that her companions were blissfully unaware of her escapade into the woods. They were engrossed in their own campfire tales, oblivious to the fact that one of their own had ventured into the night and gotten lost. In the end, the story unfolded as a bizarre episode fueled by substances and a series of unfortunate decisions. It served as a stark reminder of the unpredictability of the wilderness, even within the confines of a state park. The camping rituals, once simple and routine, now carried a lingering sense of the unknown. The night concluded with a mixture of relief and lingering unease. As we returned to our campsite, the crackling fire felt like a comforting beacon in the midst of the darkness that had briefly consumed us. The lady's misadventure, though unsettling, added a unique chapter to our camping escapades, a tale of the unexpected hidden within the shadows of the state park woods. It was a few years ago, my sister-in-law and I decided to tackle a section of the North Umpqua Trail in Oregon. The scenery promised a breathtaking view of the river, so we took a moment to savor it, perched on a rock and rehydrated. However, what started as a peaceful break took an unnerving turn. As we rested, a wave of discomfort washed over me, an inexplicable feeling that someone was watching us. It's one of those sensations that prickle at the back of your neck, making you question the tranquility of your surroundings. Slowly, I turned my head, scanning the area behind us. That's when I saw them bones, strung from the trees like some macabre version of wind chimes. My stomach clenched, and a sense of dread settled in. The idyllic setting now carried an ominous undercurrent. Just as the bones swayed in the breeze, an eerie realization hit me: we were not alone. Footsteps, faint but distinct, resonated through the forest floor, emanating from behind and slightly above us. Instinct kicked in, and I leaned forward, urgency in my voice, as I told my sister-in-law to pick up her pace. We started walking briskly, but so did our unseen pursuer. For two middle-aged women, both slightly overweight, we summoned a burst of speed that defied our usual hiking tempo. The forest, once a place of solace, became a racecourse as we ran like the wind, fueled by fear. Finally reaching the safety of home, we wasted no time in reaching out to the local sheriff. The urgency in our voices mirrored the urgency we felt on that trail. Days passed, and the sheriff appeared at our doorstep, a messenger of unsettling news. It wasn't our imagination; someone had indeed chased us. Yet, the details he withheld spoke volumes. Eager for answers, I pressed him on what they found, and who the mysterious pursuer was. The sheriff's demeanor shifted. He looked down at the ground before meeting my gaze. His words lingered with a heavy silence. "I'm not going to tell you what we found or who it was, because if I do, you will never hike anywhere again. What we found was not normal and will not happen up here again." The cryptic response left me with more questions than answers. The sheriff's warning, delivered with a solemn tone, emphasized the gravity of the situation. It wasn't a run-of-the-mill encounter, not something that could be easily brushed off as a mere misunderstanding. The unknown, coupled with the sheriff's reticence, fueled my imagination with unsettling possibilities. In the aftermath, I never learned the specifics of what they discovered or the identity of the person who pursued us. The curtain of secrecy surrounding the incident left me haunted by the lingering mysteries of that ill-fated hike. The North Umpqua Trail, once a place of natural beauty, became tainted with an unshakable sense of foreboding. The decision not to hike that section of the trail again became a small sacrifice for the preservation of my peace of mind. The unknown assailant, the bones hanging like grim ornaments, the enigmatic warning from the sheriff, it all contributed to an experience that transcended the realm of the ordinary. To add a surreal twist to the tale, the trail itself, the witness to our eerie encounter, succumbed to flames the following year. The once vibrant path, now charred and scarred, mirrored the indelible marks left on my memory by that unsettling day. It's a story that defies explanation, a reminder that the great outdoors, while majestic, can also harbor mysteries that defy comprehension. The Appalachian Trail, a stretch of untamed beauty that winds through nature's wonders. I was hiking a section of it with a couple of buddies, expecting nothing more than breathtaking landscapes and the camaraderie that comes with shared adventures. Little did we know, this particular hike would leave us with a mystery that still lingers in my memory. It was a typical day on the trail. The sun was dappling through the thick canopy, and the scent of pine hung in the air. As we trekked along, our eyes caught something peculiar dead center on the trail, a bundle of sticks carefully crafted into a figure. My mind immediately flashed to the Blair Witch Project. There it was, this eerie stick sculpture, obviously placed there by someone with a twisted sense of humor, or perhaps a penchant for unsettling art. Contrary to any rational response, I found it intriguing. So, without much thought, I scooped up the bundle and stashed it in my backpack. We continued our hike, the mystery of the stick figure fading into the background as we set up camp for the night. As the day turned to dusk, we settled around the campfire, exchanging stories and laughs. The eerie encounter was momentarily forgotten in the warmth of companionship. Little did I know, the night held its own peculiar surprise. The next morning, as I emerged from my sleeping bag and took in the surroundings, something caught my eye. There, almost mirroring the first bundle, was another meticulously crafted figure made of sticks. My heart skipped a beat as I stared at the near-identical replica. It stood in the same spot where we had discovered the first one dead center on the trail. The realization hit me like a sudden gust of wind. I reached for my backpack, unzipped it, and there it was, the original bundle I had picked up the day before. My mind raced to comprehend the inexplicable. Each of my friends swore they had nothing to do with this bizarre occurrence. The possibilities were as bewildering as the stick figure itself. The sheer precision and resemblance between the two figures sent a chill down my spine. It wasn't a casual prank or a spontaneous act of mischief. Someone had gone to great lengths to replicate the stick sculpture, and the uncanny accuracy was unnerving. The alternative explanations loomed like shadows in the woods, each more unsettling than the last. I entertained the idea that one of my friends had orchestrated an elaborate prank. But the logistics didn't add up. The trail was remote, far away from any signs of human activity. Crafting a near-identical replica without a model seemed implausible. Besides, neither of my buddies would admit to placing the second bundle, and their baffled expressions mirrored my own confusion. The unsettling truth was that someone or something had mimicked the stick figure, duplicating it with an eerie precision that defied reason. The isolation of the trail, the absence of any sign of human presence, intensified the mystery. It was as if the woods themselves had conjured this inexplicable manifestation. The alternative explanation, the one that lingered in the back of my mind, was the most unsettling of all, a force beyond our comprehension, a presence that played with the boundary between the natural and the supernatural. The Appalachian Trail, known for its mystique, had woven a tale that left us questioning the very fabric of our reality. The unease that settled over our camp was palpable. The stick figures stood as silent witnesses to a mystery that defied logic. With each passing moment, the Appalachian woods seemed to whisper ancient secrets, inviting us to question what we thought we knew about the world around us. We continued our hike, haunted by the enigma of the stick figures. The trail, once a source of simple joy and adventure, now held a layer of uncertainty. The woods, though still beautiful, carried a subtle undercurrent of the unknown. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of twigs, fueled our imagination with the possibility that something beyond our understanding lurked in the shadows. In the end, I never got the answers I sought. The Appalachian Trail retained its secrets, and the stick figures remained a cryptic testament to an encounter that transcended the ordinary. I often find myself pondering the inexplicable, wondering if the natural world harbors mysteries that elude our comprehension. The alternative that some supernatural force sought to communicate with us remains a chilling possibility, a story etched into the annals of our Appalachian adventure.